Every Friday, Bill followed the exact same routine. His paycheck arrived, he paid his rent, he paid his bills, he bought food, then he looked at his bank account and sighed. The number never seemed to grow. One rainy evening, while cleaning a dusty shelf in his apartment, Bill noticed an old brown envelope tucked behind a stack of books. Across the front, in faded handwriting, were 5 words that made him stop breathing for a second. Open when you're ready to change. Bill couldn't remember writing the envelope. He slowly opened it. Inside was a single, crisp $100 bill and a folded note. It didn't tell him to invest. It didn't tell him to work harder. Instead, it asked one question. If this is the last $100 you ever receive, what would you do with it? Bill laughed at first. Then he stopped laughing, because he realized he had never asked himself that question before. Bill placed the $100 bill on the table and stared at it for nearly an hour. His first thought was simple. I could buy groceries. His second thought came just as quickly. I could finally replace my broken headphones. Then another idea appeared. I could save it. None of those answers felt right. For the first time, Bill realized the question wasn't really about the money. It was about the person he was becoming every time he spent it. As Bill folded the note, another sentence caught his attention. Written in much smaller handwriting at the bottom were the words, "The richest people don't ask, 'What can this money buy?' They ask, 'What can this money become?'" Bill looked back at the $100. For the first time in his life, it no longer looked like spending money. It looked like a seed, and every great tree begins with one small seed planted at the right time. The next morning, Bill couldn't stop thinking about the note. Instead of heading straight home after work, he walked through a quiet neighborhood where expensive homes lined the streets. He expected to see luxury cars and people dressed in designer clothes. Instead, an older man wearing faded jeans stepped out of a small pickup truck and began watering the flowers outside one of the largest homes on the street. Bill assumed he was the gardener. A neighbor smiled and quietly said, "That's Mr. Carter. He owns this house." Curiosity got the better of Bill. He introduced himself to Mr. Carter and apologized for the mistake. The older man simply laughed. "I've been mistaken for my own gardener for nearly 20 years, he said. Then he looked directly at Bill and added, "Most people spend money trying to look rich. I spent years making sure I became rich first." Those words hit Bill harder than anything written inside the mysterious envelope. Before Bill left, Mr. Carter reached into his wallet and pulled out a worn $20 bill. He placed it in Bill's hand and said, "Tomorrow, I want you to carry this with you all day." Bill looked confused. "I'm giving it back tomorrow?" he asked. Mr. Carter smiled. "No, I want you to notice how many times you're tempted to spend it. Don't spend it, just pay attention." Bill nodded, still unsure what lesson he was supposed to learn. The next day felt different. On his way to work, Bill passed his favorite coffee shop. He reached into his pocket, then remembered the challenge. Later, he walked past a store advertising a weekend sale. Again, his hand moved toward the money. By sunset, Bill had realized something surprising. It wasn't the $20 that controlled his choices. It was the habit of spending without thinking. For the first time, Bill wasn't fighting his wallet. He was confronting his mindset. The following evening, Bill returned to Mr. Carter's house with the untouched $20 bill. Mr. Carter smiled. "You've already passed the first test." Bill looked confused. "I didn't invest it. I didn't make any money." Mr. Carter shook his head. "You invested something far more valuable. You proved you can pause before making a decision. Wealth begins the moment you stop reacting and start thinking." For the first time, Bill realized that self-control could be more valuable than extra income. Mr. Carter reached into his pocket once more. This time, he handed Bill a small notebook. Across the cover were 3 simple words: "Make money work." "Starting tomorrow," Mr. Carter said, "write down every dollar you spend, and beside it, answer one question. Will this expense make my future stronger or only make today more comfortable? Bill opened the notebook. He had a feeling this wasn't just another lesson. It was the beginning of a completely different life. Mr. Carter looked at Bill and asked, "If I doubled your salary tomorrow, would you become wealthy?" Bill immediately answered, "Of course." Mr. Carter smiled. "That's exactly what most people believe. The truth is, millions of people earn six-figure incomes and still live paycheck to paycheck. They don't have an income problem, they have a money management problem. Wealth is not determined by how much money enters your bank account. It's determined by how much stays there and how hard that money works after it arrives." Mr. Carter grabbed a piece of paper and drew two buckets. The first bucket is called income. The second bucket is called wealth. Most people spend their entire lives trying to fill the first bucket, but wealthy people spend their lives filling the second. Income pays today's bills. Wealth pays tomorrow's freedom. The goal isn't to earn more just so you can spend more. The goal is to own assets that continue paying you even when you're no longer working. Bill looked at the drawing and realized he'd been chasing the wrong bucket his entire life. Here's the financial mistake that keeps millions of people broke. Every month, they use their income to buy things that lose value instead of things that produce value. A new phone, a luxury car, designer clothes, an expensive vacation they can't afford. None of these purchases generate future income. They only create future expenses. Wealthy people think differently. Before spending $1, they ask, "Will this purchase put money into my pocket or take money out of it?" If it doesn't increase future cash flow, they delay buying it. Financial freedom isn't built by earning more. It's built by owning more assets. Think about this. A $50,000 luxury car doesn't just cost you $50,000. It also costs insurance, maintenance, fuel, depreciation, opportunity cost. If that same $50,000 were invested and earned an average 10% annual return, it could potentially grow to more than $870,000 over 30 years through compounding. That is the hidden price of lifestyle inflation. The wealthy don't become rich because they never spend money. They become rich because they buy income-producing assets first and luxury second. Most people think becoming wealthy requires finding the next big investment. They're wrong. The biggest wealth-building secret isn't high returns. It's time. Every dollar you invest has the ability to earn money. Then that money begins earning money. And eventually, the money earned by your money starts earning money too. This is called compound interest, and it's one of the few financial forces that becomes stronger the longer you leave it alone. Someone who invests consistently for 30 years doesn't end up with twice as much wealth as someone who invests for 15 years. They can end up with several times more, simply because compounding accelerates over time. Now think about this. Suppose two people each invest $500 every month into a diversified portfolio, earning an average 10% annual return. The first person starts at age 25. The second waits until age 35. The younger investor contributes for 10 more years, but those extra years of compounding can create a dramatically larger portfolio by retirement. The lesson isn't that you need thousands of dollars to invest. The lesson is that time is the asset you can never buy back. Every year you delay investing isn't just a year of missed contributions. It's a year of lost compounding that can never be fully recovered. Most people follow this formula: income, expenses, savings. The problem? By the end of the month, there's usually nothing left to save. Wealthy people reverse the equation: income, investing, expenses. The moment they get paid, they automatically move a percentage into investments before they pay for lifestyle upgrades. This is called paying yourself first. It removes emotion from investing and replaces it with a system. Because wealth is rarely built by motivation, it's built by automation. Now let's talk about the investment most beginners overlook: low-cost index funds. Instead of trying to predict which single company will outperform the market, an index fund lets you own hundreds of companies at once. That means you're not betting on one business. You're investing in the long-term growth of the broader market. This approach reduces company-specific risk, keeps investment costs low, and has historically rewarded patient investors over long periods. Successful investing isn't about constantly buying and selling. It's about consistently owning productive assets and giving them time to grow. The market rewards patience far more often than prediction. Most people believe they're losing money because they don't earn enough. In reality, 3 invisible enemies are stealing their wealth every single day. The first is inflation. Inflation quietly reduces the purchasing power of your money every year. If inflation averages 3% annually, then $100 today won't buy the same amount 10 years from now. The second enemy is debt. When you pay 18 to 25% interest on credit cards while your savings earn almost nothing, you're mathematically moving backwards. The third enemy is doing nothing. Cash that sits idle for decades slowly loses purchasing power while productive assets continue growing. The biggest financial risk isn't investing. It's allowing inflation to erode your wealth while your money does nothing. Financially successful people follow a simple order with every dollar they earn. First, eliminate high-interest debt. A guaranteed 20% interest cost on credit card debt is often more damaging than the returns you hope to earn from investing. Second, build an emergency fund so unexpected expenses don't force you back into debt. Third, invest consistently in diversified assets that have the potential to outpace inflation over long periods. This is how wealth is built. Not through luck, not through chasing the next hot investment, but through a system that protects your money before asking it to grow. The people who become financially free don't try to predict the future, they prepare for it. The average person measures success by income. Millionaires measure success by net worth. Those are not the same thing. Your income is what you earn. Your net worth is what you own after subtracting everything you owe. The formula is simple. Net worth equals assets minus liabilities. Someone earning $300,000 a year with a $1.2 million mortgage, luxury car loans, and credit card debt may have a lower net worth than someone earning $80,000 who owns investments, has little debt, and consistently builds assets. The wealthy don't ask, "How much did I make this year?" They ask, "Did my net worth increase this year?" That single shift in thinking changes every financial decision you make. Now imagine you improve your net worth by just $1,000 every month. That's $12,000 every year. Over 10 years, you've added $120,000 before considering any investment growth. If those assets continue compounding, the increase can become substantially larger over time. This is why financially successful people track net worth every month. It tells you whether your financial decisions are actually building wealth. Income tells you how fast you're earning. Net worth tells you how close you are to financial freedom. If you're only tracking your paycheck, you're measuring the wrong scoreboard. One of the biggest financial mistakes people make is focusing on how much they own instead of how much cash their assets generate. A millionaire doesn't become financially free because they own expensive things. They become financially free because their cash flow exceeds their living expenses. Think of it this way. If your monthly expenses are $4,000, but your investments, dividends, rental properties, and businesses generate $5,000 every month, you no longer depend entirely on your paycheck. This is called financial independence. At that point, work becomes a choice instead of a necessity. The wealthy don't chase bigger salaries forever. They build assets that eventually replace their salary. Every asset should answer one question. Does it generate cash flow or does it consume cash flow? Dividend-paying investments distribute part of a company's profits to shareholders. Rental properties can generate monthly rental income after expenses. Businesses produce profits by selling products or services. Royalties from books, music, software, or digital products can continue paying long after the work is completed. The goal isn't simply to accumulate assets. The goal is to build a portfolio of productive assets that generates reliable income from multiple sources. That's how you reduce dependence on any single paycheck and increase your financial resilience over time. The wealthiest investors don't just own assets. They own assets that pay them repeatedly. Every financially successful person moves through 4 predictable stages of wealth. Stage 1, financial survival. Your paycheck covers only basic living expenses. Missing one paycheck creates financial stress. Stage 2, financial stability. You eliminate high-interest debt. Build an emergency fund covering 3 to 6 months of expenses. Begin investing consistently. Stage 3, financial independence. Your investment income pays all of your monthly living expenses. You no longer rely entirely on employment. Stage 4, financial abundance. Your assets generate substantially more cash flow than you spend. Now your wealth continues growing while funding your lifestyle, philanthropy, and future generations. The goal isn't simply becoming rich. The goal is reaching the point where your money permanently works harder than you do. The mistake most people make is trying to skip stages. They speculate before they save. They borrow to invest. They chase quick profits before building a strong financial foundation. Professional investors do the opposite. They build a foundation first. Liquidity, emergency reserves, diversification, risk management, long-term investing. The stronger the financial foundation, the larger the investment portfolio it can safely support. In finance, lasting wealth isn't built by taking the biggest risks. It's built by managing risk while allowing time and compounding to do the heavy lifting. The biggest mistake new investors make is believing they need to predict the market. History shows otherwise. No one consistently knows where the market will move next week, next month, or even next year. Professional investors focus on time in the market, not timing the market. Instead of investing one large amount only when they think prices are low, many investors contribute a fixed amount on a regular schedule, regardless of market conditions. This strategy is known as dollar cost averaging, DCA. It removes emotion from investing. You automatically buy more shares when prices are lower and fewer shares when prices are higher, reducing the temptation to make emotional decisions based on market swings. Over decades, discipline often outperforms prediction. Diversification is your second layer of protection. Never allow one company, one industry, or one investment to determine your entire financial future. A diversified portfolio spreads risk across multiple asset classes, sectors, and companies. When one investment struggles, another may perform better. The objective isn't to eliminate risk. That's impossible. The objective is to avoid unnecessary risk while maximizing the probability of long-term success. The world's greatest investors understand a simple principle: protect your capital first, grow it second, because money lost requires an even greater percentage gain just to recover. After everything we've covered, one truth becomes clear. Wealth isn't created by a single investment. It isn't created by luck. And it isn't created by a high salary alone. It's created by repeating a simple financial system for decades. Earn more than you spend. Eliminate high-interest debt. Build an emergency fund. Invest consistently. Diversify intelligently. Allow compounding to work. Protect your assets. Increase your cash flow. Repeat. Most people underestimate what this system can accomplish over 30 or 40 years because they focus on today's results instead of tomorrow's compounding. Financial freedom is not reserved for the lucky. It's built by people who consistently make better financial decisions than they made yesterday. The greatest investment you'll ever make isn't a stock or a business or a piece of real estate. It's building the financial knowledge that improves every money decision for the rest of your life. Because every dollar has a job. You can spend it, you can save it, or you can invest it so it begins working for you. The choice you make with your next dollar will shape the life you live years from now. If you found value in this lesson, subscribe to Broke to Built and continue building the financial knowledge that turns ordinary income into extraordinary wealth. Remember, don't work for money your entire life. Build a financial system where your money eventually works for you.